So information about PhD. What is PhD? And there are two ways of doing PhD. One is part-time and one is full-time. So when you decide to do PhD, you have to decide in both these things whether you want to go for part-time or full-time. But both are regular. They are not distance. Distance is something very much different, which is it doesn't have value. But a regular PhD involves part-time and full-time. Both are called regular. That's a clear doubt clarification. Secondly, part-time PhD takes some time to do it because you won't go to university or college regularly to do PhD, but you stay at your workplace, work, take salary, and you visit a few times the university where you enroll your PhD and do your PhD as part-time holder. But whereas full-time you have to go regularly to university and do it. The only difference is duration. Like full-time PhD you can finish quickly, whereas part-time PhD you have to take some more years because you are busy working somewhere else. So there is no full working on your PhD project or thesis. So that's the reason why people, if they want to finish quickly, they join in PhD full time, whereas if they want to do part time little bit late, no problem, then they go for part time. So whichever maybe you can go. So part time could go around up to 6 years, full time could be around 3 to 4 years. This is the original duration, but duration always depends upon how your supervisor reacts to with your duration. So because PhD is not something that is in your hands, but it is in the hands of your supervisor and all the doctor panel members. So that's the one big disadvantage of doing PhD, because it's not like any other studies that you can do and you can finish. It is something that lying in third party person who have to accept or give signatures for each and everything about your PhD. So it's not something that you do PhD. That is the biggest drawback in the educational history, because this really uh, uh, this really gives poor researchers around the world, because a researcher cannot put his own mind and thought into his. But when some PhD is coming out, it is always like the outcome of the supervisor itself, but not of the researcher. Now that is the biggest drawbacks, because research requires creative minds, and one mind creating 10 PhD, producing 10 PhD theses would not fetch that creativity. So it should be deliberately into the hands of a researcher. Only a guide or supervisor must work on guidance levels, not any modification levels. Okay, advisory levels and not predetermined forcible levels. That this should be like this. There is no like must and should there. There should be it may or might. Okay, so that should be the guidance of a supervisor. But unfortunately, it's not happening around the world. Then somebody should change this. Somebody should allow the researchers' creativity to come out, and that's how it works. So this is all the information about PhD. Once you finish your PhD, you'll become doctor. Okay, you can just write a DR beside your name, and you can go for career growth, like to get salary increments. Because if you are a PhD holder, your salary would be different from non-PhD holders. So that way, your career would be established a little bit, and from there you can work on publishing more research papers. So this is how PhD goes about. Uh, like this is a minimum information, but in the middle of this journey, like in PhD, around 6 years, 4 years, or 3 years. So it would be a lot more tough to satisfy people around you, rather than you doing PhD and you satisfying there. That's far from nothing. So keep in mind this is not an easy journey. Don't plan for PhDs. Planning is the worst thing in PhD. Means planning in the sense planning your life these many years, this is the duration, or I'll stop these things, that things. So all these things, no plan in PhD. PhD is when and where, how and what it comes to you, and that when time comes you submit your thesis and just come out. That's it. So having said this, if you have any doubts still, like what are the inside problems, then you can just message me and we can go ahead with that.